Peace. Peace this morning, this afternoon, this evening, wherever you may be, whatever time it is. I pray that you're doing well. I pray that you're feeling well. There's a lot of loss of life, seemingly more recent. I know a sister that, recently lost her husband and lost her brother within a week and a half time apart. I've lost, a few family members in the course of 3 months. I know, people that have lost grandmother, grandfather, and a sibling and so forth. And a lot of it's COVID related. This COVID-19 virus is definitely taking a terrible toll in the U.S. and across the globe. So my prayers and my heart goes out to so many people who are losing family and loved ones. Truly, we have to ponder these things. Tomorrow's not promised to us, and though we believe we're going to go to sleep and wake up, we believe that, myself included, more often than we should. It's no guarantee. So, if you lost someone, my prayers and my heart go out to you. And if you haven't, then that is a blessing to, be appreciated greatly. So let us be mindful of that there's a lot of pain out here right now, and we need not add to one another's pain and suffering. I just want to speak on drug use in prison. It's a lot of drugs in prison, a lot of drugs. And a lot of people wonder how drugs get in prison. Well, mostly in the visiting room, mostly in the visiting room. Of course, officers bring drugs in because of the money. The monetary gain is tremendous. I don't have a piece of, like at one time, many people don't know what a 20 of crack looks like, but it's kind of real small. So it's almost like the thumb, like a half a pinky nail, right? A small, small rock. And on the street, that might be $20, $25. In prison, you can chip that, in 4, 6 little pieces, little small pieces. I'm talking about like a super crumb. Like it's, I don't have, like I say, I don't have them, the demonstration around me, but and you can sell that for like $50, like, a blast. And that's what they call it, a blast for $50. So you imagine someone on the street buying a 20 of crack and being able to make in prison, right, $150 off that 120. So you give the officer $50 for a 20. That's $30 in profit to him, right? You give him a couple $100 in cash, he comes back with, on the street, maybe an 8-ball. He might be able to get out of, 8-ball, $150, $200. Now imagine how much money that is to someone in prison selling drugs. That's over, and this is no exaggeration, that's over $1,000, easy. So you have officers that bring drugs in, and because the shakedown procedure for them is a lot lighter because of that trust factor. You get a job being a correctional officer, then, you're trusted. You form a bond. And then as you get tight, and that's with anything, that's a school, a hospital, any institution where there's an abundance of people working together, you form bonds. And then, of course, while you're there, you learn the ins and outs. And, of course, you're going to learn the positives and you're going to learn the negatives. So you're going to find, there are COs who will listen and, hear if you're looking for money, or hear, how down to earth you are, or hear how cool you are with inmates, and they may, lean in and be like, yeah, you can do this, or you can do that, or you can get away with this, you can get away with that. And they're going to put you in that no, right? Then there are others who are by the book. They're not bad at all, but they're just by the book. They're just trying to come there, do their job, no muss, no fuss, get paid and get out of there, go home to their family and their loved ones or their lives. And again, you can't do nothing but respect that. We've already talked about those buttholes, those ones that come who just, they have to be extra. And we see that everywhere. You have that any and everywhere on every and any job site. People that just got to go above and beyond, don't know how to talk to people, extremely abrasive, extremely rude, short. And so you have to deal with that even in there. The only problem is in there is those of us who have been incarcerated, we can't react because we'll get a charge. We'll lose our visits. We'll lose our privileges, our canteen, our, where we are in our sales and jobs and things like that. So, a lot of times we have to absorb and take the disrespect. And some don't, some don't. But drug use. Many people come home and they're still on drugs because there's a severe drug problem in prison. And how do they get them back from the visiting room? Because people come in, I've seen, people cut pants, have their people cut their pants. There's certain, places in, your pants that you may not be aware that has hollows. People put drugs in there. And if they don't have dogs out sniffing, then most officers can't feel, a hidden pocket or a hidden crevice in a pair of pants. They're not searching that thoroughly. So they get them in. Once they get them in, then it's up to the inmate. And you have some guys that swallow balloons. Most people put drugs into balloons or, the guys will swallow when they get back. They'll usually try to regurgitate those balloons up. That's kind of old school, but it's still prevalent. You have guys doing what they call suitcasing, and I've mentioned this before. Suitcases when guys put drugs in their rectum. That's called suitcasing. Cheeking is when guys try to slide it between their behind, their butt cheeks, and they turn around and they get it, they get it back that way. And that's usually, easy when you have a certain officers. Like I said, you have officers that we call sweet, guys that have been locked up or guys that are locked up, they call them sweet. Like, man, he's sweet, man, which means you can get past him. Either he cares or he's not aware enough to catch things. So, guys will get word. You'd be surprised. Guys get word back. You might have a guy go to the visiting room, and when a guy's leaving the visiting room, he might be like, man, tell my folk, man, it's sweet over here. That doesn't mean that the guy's going to get a visit, that is receiving that message. But a lot of guys that know that, then it makes it easy for them to get the drugs back because they'll go, sometimes guys work in tandem, work like a team. So a guy might go in when the visit room's over, the guys yell, visitor, the COs will blow a whistle, visitor terminated, and so that's when everybody getting up. They're hugging their people, they're kissing their ladies, they're hugging their kids, they're hugging their family, and it's a slow migration. Everybody's moving so slow to the exit door, and every single time you're going to hear this. All right, visiting hours is up, y'all. Come on, let's get it, let's get it. And some officers try to be merciful. All right, I know y'all don't want to let them go, but you got to let them go. Then you got some that are just mad. They'll blow the whistle. Visiting hours is terminated. Unless you want to lose them for good, come on, let's get out of here. And guys, the officers get reported. They used to have a certain guy. He was real nasty. It was a sergeant. And he was just nasty, man. He had a brother. His brother was a little more laid back, but he was just nasty. Almost everybody hated this guy. And the guy that I know actually fought him and got the best of him. He had been walking down the tier, and when he walked past, he caught a movement out of his eye. And the guy that I know, it was the roommate in the back actually on the phone. But the guy hadn't, the guy hadn't had nobody watching the door. So when the CO got to the end of the tier, the guy told his roommate, who was using the bathroom or something, like, man, hey, man, I think dude caught me, man. So, the guy I know, he's going to fight. He's a soldier. He get up in the doorway. So when the sergeant come back, like, hey, man, watch out. Let me get up in there. Dude was like, nah. So the sergeant said, man, let me get up in there, man. Move out the way. The dude was like, nah, and the sergeant was like about to grab his walkie-talkie, basically to call for reinforcement. And the guy hit him in the face with like a three-piece, you know what I mean? And the sergeant kind of toppled backwards. And, the guy commenced to working, but he didn't stomp the sergeant out or nothing. And of course, usually if you fight a CO and the rest of the COs come, once they get you in cuffs, you can submit willingly or they can just rush you. And 9 times out of 10, and this is a fact, and those that have been incarcerated would attest to this, they'll get you back in that hole while you're still cuffed. They don't always uncuff you once you get to that whole cell. Nah, they'll leave you in cuffs, and then they'll come back a few hours later, you know, and rough you up. Like they'll literally, you know what I'm saying, hit you with a shield, might mace you, but they'll turn around and get you. And this is the guys. We got to get the cuffs off of them, and there's 5 of them trying to get a pair of cuffs off of you faking, and they elbowing you, hitting you in your, you know, your ribs and your back and whatnot, hitting you upside the back of your head. And, you know, many complaints, many lawsuits have been filed because of that. And, you know, many serious injuries have been a result of, you know, that extreme retaliation. So yeah, drugs, man, they're real heavy in the prison system. You got guys that, you know, fall off. They do a lot of heroin, a lot of dope, a lot of crack. You know, there's some guys that were doing acid. And what happened was guys were putting acid on the back of the stamps, the stamps for, you know, those stamps there. And, you know, once officers found that out, you know, now they started ripping off the stamp when they give you an envelope for mail. Guys started getting it, you know, on the back of the envelope where you lick it, I guess, you know. And, you know, I don't know, you know, I wasn't privy, I didn't do drugs, you know, so, but of course, you know, in prison, everyone talks, and I know a rack of people. So after they find that out, they'll basically rip the entire back of the envelope, and that's what they've gotten. That's what led to what's going on now, and at least in the Virginia system. They don't give you the envelope. They just copy the envelope so you can get the address. They'll copy your mail. Because like I say, people were putting drug residual on letters. So I guess when guys were getting it, they would lick it or dip it in water and I don't know what they were doing, but either way, it was found out. And so, you know, that messed up, you know, the mailing system. But I've seen guys like, you know, overdose in prison. There was one guy, he was an older guy from Richmond, and he would OD all the time. I mean, one time he had a roommate and I'm not laughing at what happened. I'm just laughing. If you've ever watched that movie, Weekend at Bernie's, right? So the guy overdosed. You know, he's in there doing drugs, and this, you know, it's count time, and we're in the pod together. So this was the talk of the pod. Everybody kind of went to the cell to check on him afterwards, but his roommate had done some drugs too, so he don't want to get caught, of course. So when the guy OD, he's out. You know, he's out almost to the, you know, he could die. He could die. And they say when a person overdoses, they're supposed to take ice and put it on his genitals, but it's count time, which means you're locked in the cell. Now, you can do 2 things. As soon as the officer walk past, you can say, CO, man, he's out, man. You know what I'm saying? He's out. I don't know what happened. He collapsed. Now, you do that, that's wise, right? That's wise because he could be in a, you know, have a cardiac arrest. He could be out and literally could die without medical attention. That's wise. Prison, that's not what's going to happen. Because if you're high, you're in the cell with him, this is your roommate, you're high, not only are they going to take him to medical, they're going to check his blood. It's going to come back positive for drugs. So they're going to give him a charge. So they're going to take his job. They're going to, you know what I'm saying, you know, take away visits and all that, put him in the hole likely. Then they're going to do the same to you, right? So that's your cell is empty. Now you not only owe people probably a couple $100, then, you know, they might find stuff in your cell, you know, your knives and things like that. So all this comes from behind. So what the guy does, the roommate, who's still conscious, he turns around and sits the guy up in a chair, puts his arm, put the guy's arm over the chair and turn the guy's head like he looking out, you know, like he looking backwards. The COs come past, when they say count time, they just look in because they're trying to count bodies. You know, they have to add these numbers up and make sure all the numbers for the prison, you know, adds up. So they're not really looking for a lot of movement. And some COs do, but, you know, not all the time, especially way back when you could just turn around, lay in the bed and just, you know, just not even move or just throw your hand up, you know, and that was sufficient. Nowadays, you got to jump out the bed at 4 o'clock in the morning. Stand and count. You hear a whistle. Next thing you know, you hear stand and count, top tier, stand and count, bottom tier. And, you know, you have to jump up. So when the CO walk past, that's count time, 4 o'clock in the morning, 12 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and 9 o'clock at night. You know, they're going to lock you in and they're going to do those sort of counts. The 4 in the morning is the worst one because, like I say, you're asleep. So the guy, you know, as soon as the count cleared, he went and got some ice, threw it on, you know, the roommate, and the roommate came too. When he came too, you know, he was sweating. You know, he was in a bad way. He was an older guy, but he had so many different, you know, he had OD so many times that, you know, guys just kind of knew what to do. you know, at least in that instance, if they're not going to send them to medical. So like I said, as soon as count clear, you know, the guy went and got a bucket of ice, told a couple guys, and they came to the cell, checked on them, slapped them, you know, woke them up or whatever. And like I say, when guys, you know, guys know, and usually it's Saturday and Sunday. Saturday in the afternoon, evening, guys are on the rec yard, on the gates, waiting for the dudes that they know get the drugs, you know, waiting for the guys that they know the dudes to get the drugs. Hey, what he got? Oh yeah, he trying to do something? Tell him, man, I'm trying to get, you know, get in. And guys used to have cigarettes, and they'll send cigarettes, and you see along the gate all sort of exchanges, or you'll see guys walking the yard together that you know they're making drug deals or whatever. Same thing with Sunday. Because guys were, as they say, copping in the visitor room. Copping meaning, you know, you're acquiring drugs and then you're bringing drugs back. And the guys aren't always successful. I've seen guys come back in the police because their visitor room has cameras all in it. So the COs sit in what they call the control booth by the watch office. And they'll be looking in the cameras and they might see certain movement or guys leaning in too much to their girl, or they'll see hand play, you know, with guys' hands moving, or they'll just check the movement. And some officers are wise to some of the movement. And so when visitor hours are over, you know, the visitors are leaving out and most of us are sitting there. And, you know, guys are looking at the visitors leave out, you know what I'm saying, trying to knock on the glass, get their last waves on. And then you sit there and the COs who are in the change out room, they'll call, let me get 2. Let me get 3. And you go back there and, you know, you strip off your jumper or whatever outfit you're wearing, and they'll take that and they'll throw that in the bin, and then they'll shake you down first. You know what I'm saying? They'll open your mouth, move your tongue around, squat, you know, spread your cheeks, cough, lift up your genitals. You know, that's real. And then there's a pole now that you kind of have to walk around because it'll light up if you have drugs on your electronics, on you or inside you somehow. Then you put your clothes on. They'll give you back the clothes that you gave them when you came in. They'll give you back those, you put them back on, then they'll sit you in a chair. And you sit in the chair, you roll your neck to the left, same thing. It checks your internals to make sure you don't have any electronics. Then you leave out. But if they know or suspect that you had drugs, what happened is they'll turn around and say, okay, let me get 2. And the minute you're coming up, they'll go back and they'll lock the door for a few seconds. And they're calling in reinforcements. So now 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 officers in there. So when you come back there, they'll grab you, you know, and they'll check you thoroughly. You know, they'll spread your cheeks themselves. They'll go inside your behind you. They'll make you open your mouth and stick their fingers in your mouth, and now they got you. So they'll cuff you. You know, everybody in the visitor room, they hear the scuffling back there, and they be like, man, oh, they got him. And, you know, that's a conversation like, oh, they got him. Oh, I told the dude, man, let it go. I told him that the people was watching him, you know, whatever. So he's in the hole. Word will get back to his roommate, the CO, shake his door, goom, goom, you know, announce his roommate will come to the booth, give him some bags. Hey, pack your celly stuff. And he messed up because he like, man, he suspects what it is. And they'll pack him up, and the celly will be in the hole for maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe a month under investigation. If they found it, then then they have it. So he'll be back there for about a month. Then they'll release him to another pod. They didn't taken his job. If he had a job, they probably suspended his visits for 6 months. And so he has to start all over again, right? So this is the drug, you know, this is the drug world. Like I say, it's a lot of fights behind drugs because some guys are just fiends. They want it. They will lie, cheat, and steal to get it, but they're going to owe that money. And the one that's selling the drugs, like on the street, he's a drug dealer. So he wants his money. And I've seen guys run up in guys' pods. You're not even in the pod, but you were running that pod and go get it. I knew a little guy from DC, man, I dealt with, little youngin', and loved, you know, he was a fighter. He was, you know, had a good heart for the most part. You know, he wasn't no like super troublemaker, you know, if there's a such thing, but, you know, he was a little fighter, man, had the heart of a lion, but, you know, he was involved in, you know, drug dealing. So he would, you know, it was like common to see him in another pod because if someone owed him an hour beyond when they said they would bring him his money or his roommate, because they kind of worked together, he would go in that person's pod, you know, intimidate them if they didn't have it. Like he'll go in their cell, like, look, let me get that, you know. And, you know, but that happened often. You had guys that would go to canteen and they might buy, their mother sent money. Now they might have a job, but their mother sent them $100. Their girl sent them $100. They go to canteen, they got a whole $100. They take that right to the drug dealer. Whole bag of canteen. And you just be like, nah, in your head, like, man, you know, and that's not judging, you know, because like I say, a lot of my family members were on drugs, and a lot of people, especially the, you know, the mid to 80s up to the, like, you know, 2000s, you know, so drugs are heavy, and you know, they take a serious toll on people, you know, so guys are in there like out here, you know, like I spoke about before. Everyone's looking to ignore that reality. Everybody's looking to duck the pain of the consequences. Everybody's looking to numb the feeling that they feel regarding being away from home, being away from their loved ones, having to sit in prison with, you know, 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 35, 40, 45 years, a life sentence. They're never going, there are guys that are never going home. And so they do drugs because they're trying to look for that ease, that out, you know, just for that moment. So I'm not judging, but I am saying that there are plenty drug use in prison, too much. And they have programs, they have AA and NA, but more often you have counselors that have never been on drugs running these programs. So they're not going into the mind or the heart of the drug addict. And they're not pulling out, you know, anything substantial. You know, guys are being there looking around, waiting for the, you know, the time to lead that program, you know, and there's no enforcement. There's no, you know, thorough push in the program. So a lot of time, you know, they in AA meetings, they might get a certificate, but they just breeze through it. Might not have answered even one question, you know, so some of that stuff is just cosmetic. So like I said, that's all I wanted to speak about, man. Just, you know, a lot of guys are coming home on drugs because there are plenty drugs still in prison. Plenty, you know, and guys are on drugs every day, sometimes all day, depending on how much money they have. And so when they come home, many are still on drugs, and this is why they keep going back. That's one of the reasons why the recidivism rate is so high. It's actually highest among drug use. You know, statistically, and then I believe it then theft, because those are the easy things and guys always think they can get away with. But drug use, you know, we know that's a epidemic across the globe. So, you know, people on drugs, be merciful. Don't be a fool, but be merciful. And, you know, let us try not to judge them too harshly, even though what they do, especially if they're those we love, affects us and affects the ones around us. But it is, they call it a sickness, you know, but it is weighty. And if you've never done it, then, you know, it's kind of hard to put yourself in their shoes. But that is the truth. A lot of people are on drugs in there and they're coming home on drugs. And so you do have to watch them, you know, but you know, you love them just the same. Those we know. So thank you again for listening. Thank you for, you know, tuning in. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for walking this journey with me. So many of you all are super consistent, you know, and I thank you. It's almost like, you know, I respond to everything I can. And some people just like, I know you, like I know some of you all, man, because I look for you to say something encouraging and or comment or ask a question. I respond. It's like, you know, and I appreciate that. So, you know, like I said, I'm on Instagram for those that may want to check me out, and check out that I am working, that I am about what I say I'm about, Khalid Kareem 75. And, you know, I'm on, you know, YouTube as well, where you can see that. And I'm on Facebook as well under my name, Khalid Kareem. So take care of yourselves. Do and be better. If not for you, for those you love, because they're worth it. But you're definitely worth it as well. You know, when you look in that mirror, you don't have to compete with nobody. You don't have to compare with nobody. Just strive hard to be the best you can be. And make no mistake, it's going to be a beautiful thing just for you. And for those that truly love you, man, they can't help but to appreciate it. So take care. You have a good one. And I'll see you soon. Peace.